What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. It's Dean 78904. If you want to get all technical on me, it is 6 o'clock on the East Coast. Still need a haircut. 3 o'clock on the West Coast. 5 o'clock Tennessee time. Of course, I'm at this time of the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. Joining me today, drawing the short straw, drawing the long straw. He's excited to be here. It's Grant Never. Grant, how are things in your world? I understand you wanted an event. It's a four-game DFS slate going down tonight. We're here for the next hour or so. No. Let's be precise. Let's get all technical. 50 minutes. Then we hand it off to Crunch Time, Andy Means, and Kevin Roth. If you guys are premium members, you all know that goes down. If you want to be a premium member, get yourself $10 off the first month. Devin, fabulous multitasking producer, is going to go ahead and drop that link in chat for you guys. $10 off a la carte, just basketball, or for you want all the sports, including hockey, including everything with the exception of NASCAR, I believe. Golf as well too. You can get $10 as off on that link as well. Grant, do you have a rant as far as foosball?
Yeah. Michael Thomas, I no longer like you.
Oh,
I had every over prop and touchdown. I had multiple three-leg parlays because of random boosts. And all of them either had Michael Thomas over 6.5 receptions, Michael Thomas over 70 yards, or Michael Thomas to score a touchdown. And you have to actually catch the ball in order for that to happen. So, yeah, he ruined my day. Ironically, still got third in the GPP. It was only like $2,000, but Michael Thomas was right behind me, and so all he had to do was get 1 point in order to knock me down. He never did.
Well, he had a corpse that was throwing the football to him, though. That's kind of an issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's still like Michael Thomas. He dropped like one pass last year, something like that.
Yeah.
He legitimately, I think how many drops was he credited with?
I don't know. Well, the Can't Guard Mike is his Twitter handle. What do you think he should change it to?
Can't catch Mike.
Can't catch Mike. Yeah, it's I don't know, man. Maybe the chat can let us know. What up, chat? What up, YouTube? Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. We do appreciate that. Interactive show. Devin, our producer, is going to join the show in about 30 minutes or so, give or take, depending how good or bad the conversation's going down with Grant. Bet the under on that one for sure. And he's going to compile all your questions, everything you guys are talking about. You guys are asking questions about this 4-game slate, and I cannot wait for like the questions on tonight's slate, which we'll get into in a second. You like Wanamaker or Arts Diacono? Good Lord, it is so gross out there. DK specific, especially because on a season where we've had tons and tons of value because of a variety of reasons, there just is none on this 4-gamer, and we'll dig into it. And it's really, this is why, you have general rules. This is why you break the rules, Grant, as far as the slate tonight. Oh, we do ask if you guys are asking questions in chat. 2 things. Tell us what site you're talking about and tell us if it's for tournament or for cash. There you go. It makes it so much easier. So, Grant, the general rules are, it's like, people say, oh, this guy's going to get you value. This guy's going to get you 6X. And on previous slates, if a person was 3K and they were 18 points, they get you 18 points, no more, no less. And they lock that in, you guarantee it. I don't want it. No, that spot is too valuable. There's too much good stuff out there. But on tonight's slate, and you can guarantee me a 3K guy on DK is going to get me 16 points or 17 points, I'm locking that dude in. It's just the nature of the slate. I don't know who that guy is going to be, but we're all going to try to sort of guess. That's assuming you want to spend up for the studs. And it's a 4-game slate tonight, Grant. 4-gamer, right? And we have Giannis Antetokounmpo. We got James Harden. We got Kevin Durant. We got, depending on what I call Toronto guys studs. There are many studs, kind of sort of somewhat. Luka Doncic for sure. He's a confirmed stud. LeBron, he's questionable, but come on. I assume he's going to be playing. He's in questionable all season long. That is the 3rd game of a national TV schedule as well, so I assume he's going to give it a go. Davis on the other side. Steph, if the game is tight, is a stud. And Christian Wood is kind of, sort of, somewhat of a stud as well. And the studs check out dollar for dollar as amazing plays, but then we have the salary cap. And so how do we build lineups tonight without holding our nose to these 3K guys, these 3.5K guys, and begging for 15 points? Now, the way I'm thinking about it, Grant, is kind of like, the combination of the two, like Harden and Wanamaker, Arcidiacono. We talked about Boban pre-show, the prospect of maybe he gets unleashed. Maybe he can get there in 8 minutes. So talk about how this slate is different than I think anyone we've seen all season long.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not value. Like, pricing is probably about priced where it should be. There's no real great plays, and the great plays, like I'm looking at lineup HQ, and SBK will hop on soon and he'll talk to us, but like Draymond's going to be 60% owned. Wiseman's going to be 60% owned. Gordon's going to be 60% owned. These are just silly ownerships. And I'm just looking for guys that can get me 20 points that are going to be really low owned. And I've got guys, take my advice or don't on this slate. I mean, I'm probably just going to lose money, but there's a chance that some of these guys end up paying off huge. More than likely it'll be trash, but there is a chance that these could be some GBP winners, but more than likely it's just going to go horribly. If
you guys played the early slate with the Miami game that was pushed back to 8:00, Tyler Hero has been ruled out with his neck. Now I know there's a chance that the game might get ruled out entirely. That's the reason why they pushed it back. But there you go. There's a piece of information for you guys. Otherwise, as far as injuries, it's super quiet. LeBron, again, we said is questionable. I presume he's going to play. What else do we have out? So Dallas, we're prospecting. We're guessing that on a back-to-back Porzingis may rest. We may see that. There's no reason on the injury report. He's not on there, but it is a back-to-back. It's also a back-to-back for Chicago. And THJ, Tim Hardaway Jr., if he doesn't play, we might get some bad value opening up on the Dallas side. They are getting Jalen Brunson. The Brunson burner is back for what it's worth too. And he'll probably play around, 24, 25, 26 minutes or something like that. But it's really gross out there, Grant. And like, I wanted to fire up, in the lineup HQ. Let's look at it here on DK. And I know Devin's going to put up on the screen as well for the people. And this is kind of what we're talking about as far as points per dollar. And this is what we don't see. You don't see this, Grant, right? The points per dollar guys, of course, the way math works, the cheapest guys have the best chance of, being more points per dollar, but then raw points matter. Points per dollar, the absolute best play, according to our rankings as of like 5 minutes ago, I refreshed it here, as far as our math and our projections, the best dollar for dollar play on this slate is 10.8K James Harden. You just never see that. The second best, Kevin Durant at 10.1K. Third, Christian Wood, 8.9K. Then Giannis Antetokounmpo at 10.4K. Then Victor Oladipo making his debut tonight in Chicago. Then Luka Doncic. Then Chris Middleton. The point here, Grant, is that all the expensive guys are also the best plays, not just raw points wise, but dollar for dollar wise. So how in the world do we make this work?
I have one lineup with Luka, Harden, and Giannis in it.
The rest of it's terrible.
Yes, that is correct. The rest of it is trash. But like making it work. So the fact that Bruce Brown, does his ownership change? What am I? Sorry,
Bruce Brown.
36.9% owned.
Yeah.
We have his median projection at 18 points.
And that's a terrible value. He's like 4K.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
4.3K. So I've got some weird guys that I'm playing. Do I just list them now and let everyone make fun of me?
Well, we talked about a pre-show. We had the conversation about it, and this season's been wonky. It's been goofy, and maybe a small sample, maybe a lack of crowds. Maybe they're playing in this vast area with, it's like, nobody in the. I think it's a little bit different. The bubble was like at least a small arena, and a better atmosphere. Now it's like this massive 15,000, 20,000 seat arena. Who knows? Maybe we're just trying to make up reasons as far as why. But there's been an inordinate amount of blowouts this season, right? So if you want to play on, hey, one of these games is going to blow out, I can't predict it. I don't know who's going to blow out, but just build a lineup under the implication or the possibility of, and I assume that's what you're doing, right? I assume that you have those three studs, and you don't want to give your lineup away. Not that anybody's going to dupe this garbage, you don't want to give it away. Yeah, I understand what you're doing, but sure, fire off your favorites. This guy's 3K. Maybe there's a chance he can get up to 20 points if goofy things happen.
Well, I mean, yeah. So first off, there's Markieff Morris. I'm not happy about that at all. I don't think it's going to pay off very well, but he's projected at what? So what are the odds that he actually goes for over 20?
Over 20?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, he's 3.6K. You bet you kind of sort of need like 20. You kind of sort of need 20 to be okay. The odds that happens, 25, 30% off the dome.
Yeah, so he's currently projected at 0.9% ownership. Pretty much you need a blowout to be happening for him to get a little bit of extra run in all likelihood. But last 3 games, 11, 24, 14, he can get hot shooting in a blowout going up against a high-paced team like the Warriors. He can get 20 minutes of run. Like 20 minutes is not the median projection, but 20 minutes is a distinct possibility in an extreme blowout, which can absolutely happen. If that game blows out, who else is going to get run? Caruso could get some extra run. THT could get some extra run. Like all these other guys could get extra run. So my plan is kind of to correlate those guys, correlate my value plays as pretty much Lakers players that are going to get run in a blowout. I don't know if it's the right strategy. I just don't have anything that I can think of that's better and going to get lower ownership.
For the record, we currently have THT for 6 minutes, which, I mean, it's super, super ambitious. He's a guy that gets some run. We saw him in preseason.
If you don't want to use 15, THT,
yeah,
TLC is like just a little bit more than him.
And he's more solidified, we'll say. Obviously, not a ton of usage with Harden and Durant to go around, but you know he can make an open shot, and like if forced to do something. Of course, there's no Kyrie there still, worth noting. And there's some terrible names being thrown out there. I just noticed this in the chat, Grant. I know you play SuperDraft. Are you playing SuperDraft this evening?
Yeah, I'll be playing SuperDraft tonight. That's at tonight's slate is. Most of my play is probably going to be on SuperDraft. Like,
what is the strategy there? Because there's a lot of good plays that I don't know if you want to give like the 20-second tutorial on how the scoring works there or not for the people out there that don't play. But there's no salary. You can play whatever you want. Cue the the blender voice. Wait, do it again.
Just play him. Play over him.
Devin, do you have a drop of blender doing that? We should have something like that on file, and just in case in an instance. Oh, I guess not. I don't know. Devin's quiet. I think he's killing some zombies right now or something. I'm not sure what's going on. He's on some Call of Duty, but he'll be joining the show later for sure. We'll definitely ask him that pressing question. But the point is, I was just going to ask if you can like maybe just play a bunch of studs over there, where obviously the math you typically play on the cheapies, but like who are the cheapies? I don't know. I've not looked at it. I've not played there yet.
So yeah, over on you want to play the studs, like considering that Harden, Durant, Luka all have like 70+ ceilings. Giannis really isn't as great of a play because he's only 1 times multiplier, but you got guys with the big ceilings. You got guys that have mispriced multipliers. Christian Wood at 1.3, Oladipo at 1.55. And then you got guys that you can correlate together, guys from the Toronto game like Lowry, Van Vliet, Siakam, Boucher are all guys that probably have multipliers where they should be. But if that game stays close, they can absolutely outdo them. Guys from the Chicago game, White and Markkanen are 1.6 and 1.6. So both of them can end up going off for a huge game, considering that they can each go for 45+. Like either one of those can in a high-paced matchup. So that's the strategy over on SuperDraft. You aren't just pigeonholed into taking all these guys that are terrible, but you have to use them in order to fit in other guys. So like I'm going to be in a lot of chalkier builds, which is pretty common over there. But there's just not a ton of guys to go off the board. So I'm going to let guys make bad decisions, and I'm just going to capitalize on it.
We should also mention Monkey Knife Fight. Of course, we have a promo working out with them. 100% deposit bonus, up to 50 smackers, up to $50. Use the promo code Grinders, GRINDERS. Go ahead and check out that link there in chat. Grant, you're going to help the people out. You've actually given them a couple winners tonight. I'm not sure if you remember who they may or may not be. It's just picking over, picking under. Okay, fire away. Go for it.
Yeah, so the more or less like it's pretty much the same as if you were to parlay 2 things over on a normal site. But essentially, you want to find stuff that's highly correlated. So Middleton, his projection at 37.5 fantasy points is too low. So is Durant's at 49.5. If this game stays close, both of them should hit. So my more or less 2 out of 2 one is Durant and Middleton both on the over under fantasy points.
Yeah, you mentioned Keach will be joining us shortly from the projections team, and I'm not really sure what. I mean, there's really the questions we can ask him, and it's gonna be some tricky answers for him for sure. But we're gonna do our best to get some information out of him as far as some projections. Maybe we'll get some Dallas news or some potential Dallas news, like if then stuff. I know we have an if then article. I'd not get a chance to check that out here at RG. That's one more thing to get as far as premium members. If this guy is out, keep an eye on this guy. All of a sudden gets a bump. So Milwaukee, Brooklyn, 2 teams that are on island games didn't play yesterday, not playing tomorrow. National TV. And this is a potential Eastern Conference final matchup, like for sure. And I always say, like, regular season means nothing, but this game feels like it means more than the other ones, comparatively speaking. Maybe the Stars get a couple extra minutes of run. It's a national TV game, so you get an extra couple commercials to rest. I don't know if coaches factor that in, but it's just kind of throwing it out there in the ether. If you're going to stack it up, and I think that's what you're talking about. I'm not sure if you gave away your studs. I think you may have. But Harden and Giannis and Durant, like, all look like awesome plays. Step down, you can play Middleton as well, too. Probably better play on FanDuel, but perfectly fine on DK as well. All right, Keach is here, but just give me – well, we'll put that question on layaway, Grant. We'll talk about Milwaukee and Brooklyn in a second. Let's talk to Keach because lots of pressing questions. Keach, dude, you got any value for us tonight on DK?
Hey, value tonight for you on DK. Let me take a look. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got here in the projection. One of my favorite places to be.
Oh my God!
There's not a whole lot of cheap value. The funny is, usually when I sort by the RG value column, we get like at least a handful of cheapish players toward the top. I'm scrolling down. I literally 5.2K. Draymond Green is probably the best like cheap to mid-range-ish player on the slate that we have right now. It's kind of scary. Yeah, there is very little value.
Yeah, we just ran that down the first 10 minutes of the show. We were talking about the same sort of principle, like lineup HQ, like, point per dollar, and the best point per dollar plays on the most expensive guys, which is absolutely wild. What do we have right now currently as far as Dallas? Do we have Hardaway in? Do we have Porzingis in? Because that's a chance that we may be able to get something there. If we get some news, of course, that's a 7:30 game, and we will get news before tip. Now we're just sort of guessing. What do you think is going to happen there as far as Dallas?
So I don't know if you saw, but the Mavericks, Eddie Sefko, beat reporter for Dallas, had noted that it sounds like we'll see Kristaps tonight. I was kind of thinking last night that he would probably sit, just given how fresh he is back, and he saw a pretty decent amount of run yesterday. But it sounds like he's going to play. If we don't have Tim Hardaway, any premium members can check out the if-then projections. We have an article up for that now, which you can kind of see where we'll be if Hardaway is out. And right now, even assuming he's off the floor, there's still nobody that's projecting as like a plus value. It's really just Luka Doncic. He's the guy, regardless of situation, that you can feel good about. We'd have Jalen Brunson, assuming he plays also. We'd have him for 24 minutes, Trey Burke at 28, Wes Iwundu at 30, Josh Green at 21. None of those guys at those minute projections are coming close to popping, really. Trey Burke, might be the guy, I guess, who's closest, but his price has also come up on DraftKings, I believe, so he's not even really cheap there. So it's kind of an unfortunate situation. They have a couple questionable guys here, but there's really not much value to be found, even if, they end up sitting.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Josh Green gets some run. Like, we're currently projected for 6 minutes, but he needs to play like 30 or so. He's a 0.4 fantasy point minute guy. Just no usage there at all. So, like, me and Grant were talking about considering Boban. Like, in his 8 to 12 minutes, so he might get 0. But if he gets 8 to 12, he can beat all these guys in theory. But, it's all pure speculation, nothing you feel comfortable about. Is there anything else we're monitoring as far as minutes, as far as, like, rotations, anything interesting, anything goofy, anything you have your eye on as far as this 4-gamer? Because I don't really see a lot that's, I don't want to keep you too long, and of course, if something changes, you're going to be all over it. But what else are we speculating on?
Well, I guess we're still kind of waiting on the status of Sterling Brown, who I believe is still questionable. Tyler Hero was recently ruled out, so that may open up some, assuming that game gets played.
Well, that's on the early slate, but yeah.
Value there.
It just came across Twitter, by the way, for the record. Here we go. Tim Hardaway in. And the coach Spoelstra said Pistons Heat will play tonight 8 o'clock. And again, that's the early slate. That's not a part of the night game because it was moved from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Continue. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that kind of we have an idea now with the Dallas value. But kind of other than that, I mean, we have LeBron. Let's see, yet another questionable tag. I don't think we're going to spend much time covering that one. One thing that we kind of discussed a little bit earlier was James Wiseman. His minutes the last 2 games have been up. Mm-hmm. Eric Paschall missed one of those 2 games. He was back for the last one, and Wiseman still saw a pretty decent amount of run. I'm not sure if that's something that's going to continue or not. I'm based on the projection, you can tell I'm not totally bought in. I believe he's at 22 minutes right now, which is a step up from where he's been. He's been kind of in like the 18-minute range. So on a night that's totally devoid of value, there's a potential place to look there. His per minute upside is obviously there. So that is a situation I'm going to be monitoring tonight as to, is the bump in playing time for Wiseman real, or was it just kind of, related to injury situations and, the matchup yesterday with Denver. So that's one I'm definitely keeping an eye on.
I think it's real for the record. I think they want to – why not develop a guy? You're going nowhere. And also, LA's got a bunch of bigs too. The only issue is that you really can't predict this, but LeBron and Davis would have an ability to draw fouls, and Wiseman could be handsy, so I can see him getting in foul trouble. But assuming he dodges that, and I think 22 minutes is pretty reasonable, maybe 24 or so. But Grant, what do you have for? And I think he's reasonably owned because his price is kind of pushed down, and again, there's no value tonight. Grant, what do you have for SBK before we get him out of here?
Any thoughts on Thad Young, Markieff Morris, or Caruso?
Gee, you're digging deep, my man. You're gonna have to make that choice.
I'm 100% on all three of them right now, and I'm not happy about it.
Probably. Yeah, I don't think you will be in a couple hours either. But hey, we'll see. Anything can happen.
Anything is possible. Doc Giff gonna get Kevin Garnett. Keach, hopefully. I was gonna say hopefully it's quiet, but I kind of want some news. Chaos is a ladder, man. When you know what you're doing, chaos is good. So bring us some chaos, scratch some guys out. We shall see. Stay tuned. Lock is not for an hour and 10 minutes. Keach, we thank you for your time. Grant, well, let me ask this, Grant. So if you're going to say, hey, I'm not going to spend up in these big spends, I don't think we're going to get optimal games out of Harden or Giannis or Durant, and it's really hard for like all of them not to get there, And again, they're all priced too low, and the bottom guys are priced too high, and it's like, well, we also have a salary cap. And then you say, well, maybe I just crushed the mid-tier, right? Well, there you go. That's an idea. But the mid-tier is not very good, right? Like the mid-tier is not great. Oladipo is certainly pretty interesting. Got to assume he steps right in there for Houston, plays 35 minutes or so, runs the point. Wood, if you want to call him kind of sort of somewhat mid-tier, not really. He's mid to upper, I guess. But as a general thought, like there's only 4 games. There's only so many routes. Levine's essentially priced like a stud. The mid-tier kind of sucks, right? I guess the Toronto guys, Boucher. I think Boucher is a good mid-tier guy. But I'm just trying to think of different routes and different ways to get there.
Yeah, you and me both. I've got none. No, I do have some. So it's just basically like I'm mostly relying on ownership projections right now. And with what we have projected for a lot of these mid-tier guys, Wiseman, Green, Gordon, Oladipo, Tate, Brown, like I might just full on avoid all of them. Like right now I have one lineup with Green or with Gordon and Wiseman in it just because I was able to fit in both Harden, Giannis, and Middleton. So it's just kind of stacking up that game, taking the trash value that I'm just forced into. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like it's just what I can do in that lineup. But the rest of these lineups, I'm just fading every single one of those guys. I don't want to deal with that ownership. I'll take my chances with a possibility of Thad Young, Morris, Caruso, Archie, getting the same amount of points per dollar as those other guys, and just hope that, like we have projected, Luka, Giannis, Harden, Durant all end up crushing.
Ownership right now, DK specific, 63%. 63% on Eric Gordon, who's returning from his injury. I assume he's fine. Good matchup here against Chicago. Chicago plays pretty fast. They're one of the worst teams defensively. And Gordon's got a reasonable price of 5.2K. I assume he's good to go and he can play his 30 minutes. Draymond Green, one of the worst shooters in the league. But he gets there in various routes, is projected for 60% ownership. Good Lord. And Wiseman at 60% as well, too, just because that's the way the build is going. Oladipo at the 39%. Jayshawn Tate is 5'1" and still projected for 37%. Oh, man, like that just does not feel comfortable at all. I assume he's going to draw the start there, but and then Bruce Brown, we already kind of alluded to, who's essentially a 3-and-D guy with no usage out there, 36%. This is so gross. I don't want that. I don't want to play that. By the way, notes here coming across as far as the Labs Twitter. We have Porzingis will play. Patrick Williams, now a game time decision there for Chicago. That would help out your Thad Young, but everybody else.
I'm all in on Thad Young now because of that.
Well, I mean, that doesn't mean anything's happened just yet.
Don't care.
Man, this is a slate, man. This is a Whew. Marketing 20% to rank. It's interesting because Eric Pascal at 19%, who's just like this. See, okay, look, Eric Pascal, we got him projected for 19 minutes, 17 fantasy points. He's 4K and he's 20% owned. And that's a terrible value on any other slate. Terrible. I don't want that. Ugh. Grant, I'm throwing my hands up, man. I don't know what to do with it.
This is the most extreme stars and scrub slate that I've ever played for me. Like I said, you can go with a mid-tier build, but you're going to be eating a lot of value or a lot of chalk. Like I said, mention all the guys that are going to be over 30% owned. You can play any of them. They all stand out as decent point per dollar plays, but they don't stand out as great. Like they're just, everyone is going to be tilted towards the same build because of what they want to do. My way of playing this is planning on Harden, Luka, Giannis, Durant, multiple of them going for 70-plus points. Luka has been on an absolute tear recently, even with Porzingis in there. Been averaging over 70 points a game for 7 games in a row, or the last 7 games. Like, just absolutely been crushing. Draws a decent matchup going up against Toronto. I'm planning on playing like he is going to go for 70. Harden, look at what he just did. He can do it again. He's apparently no longer fat, and I'm super confused by it. I don't understand.
Are those pictures? Is the first one doctored in the light blue, or is light blue just really not that flattering?
I have no idea. I have absolutely no clue.
3 days difference, and he looks like a totally different. Did he go? Did Billy Blanks get a hold of him, or like Tony Little? Like
I think that was from preseason basketball. I thought.
I don't know. I don't know if that's doctoring and like Twitter just doing its thing, or I thought it was authentic, but I wasn't really sure. And yeah,
I'm fairly certain he just. I'm fairly certain that he just cut out carbs. You know, carbs are the enemy.
Oh man, we should acknowledge what's going on at FanDuel for what it's worth. The cheapies there are not nearly as gross, not nearly as bad, and like you can get 3 studs if you want to. You can get 2.5 if you want to. It's not that hard. Like Harden currently is our highest projected own guy on FanDuel at 52%, and he's only 10.3K, and that's just way too cheap. If you assume like his rates are what they were last game, or even like knock him down a little bit. DiVincenzo feels a little bit cheap as well too. Oladipo at 40% ownership. It's interesting. We have Patrick Williams currently at 35% ownership, but he's questionable. He just kind of sort of fit the bill, and I think he's like $10 or $11, maybe $12 on Yahoo. I like them over there as well. But again, stay tuned on that. That is an 8:00 game, so hopefully we will have news on that. Or otherwise, just kind of don't make any plans for the next half hour after lock. Amongst the studs, amongst the stars, can you power rank them? Luka, Harden, Durant. I guess
number 1 Harden, number 2 Luka, number 3 Durant, number 4 Giannis.
Yeah. What about the Lakers? Are we just like? I mean, if you're playing Curry, I feel like you got to run back. I don't think anybody's playing Curry. Just for the record, we can check on his ownership. But if you're playing Curry, you probably should run it back with one of the Lakers because that means like a Curry has seen a big variance. Golden State's got walloped several games. But in theory, he's got, the ability to put up 45 real-life points in the bucket. It is a national TV game. He's going to do his best to shine out there, obviously, as he normally would on any game, I suppose. But run it back. Curry, who's your favorite Laker, assuming LeBron is in?
It's LeBron, but again, I'm 100% going like that game's going to be a blowout. I don't suggest planning blowouts. Like, don't play for blowouts that much. Like, don't just expect it based on the spread, but this is a 4-game slate with extreme amounts of value and extremely high raw points for the top projected guys. So I am playing as if that's a blowout. I currently have 100% Markieff Morris. I'm probably going to lose money tonight. I have no idea.
So I'm just looking at the chat. I just kind of noticed one of the questions there. I thought was interesting. Like, no, Zach LaVine, he's a stud. And yeah, he's a stud. A little bit less of a stud if you're going to power rank him as far as raw points. And, he's a little bit cheaper. But just we've seen him in the 7Ks. He's 9.5 tonight on DK. We currently have him projected for 44 fantasy points at 9.5. And that's just not good enough when you compare him to the guys that are $1,000 more that can be, projected for 10 or 15 more fantasy points. And that's why he's currently projected for 3% ownership. If you want to play that game, if you want to have at it, if you get the what if, you get LaVine in the right night. Again, another one of those guys, 40 points in the bucket. He doesn't really do a heck of a lot else. He certainly can put like 6 or 7 threes out there, and he can get some assists, but doesn't really pepper the box for it a ton. Is that a way to be different? Is that a way to be squirrely? Because, you could stack it up with LaVine. You said you like Rat that a little bit as well, too, assuming Williams is out. And I guess either way, you're playing some of him. Wendell Carter, I want to see him play a few more minutes. I want to see him crack 30. That's not necessarily happening. Marketing is essentially all points. Like, he could get there on points, but super reliant on points is generally guys that I don't want to play. And run it back as far as, I guess we should ask your thoughts as far as Oladipo and Gordon and just Houston in general, brand new team. And do we just think Oladipo, hey, this is your team, at least until the end of the season, I believe, as a free agent. Have at it, go out there and run point for 35 minutes. It's all yours.
I mean, there's a decent shot of that. Like Gordon and Depot both grade out as good plays, but Gordon is 63% owned projected, and Depot is 39% owned. Like, if we're just looking at RG value, projected value, Gordon is at negative, and Depot is at 2.59. Like, I would like to, if ownership was not a thing, I would definitely be using a lot of them. Ownership is a thing. I don't know if these projections are going to be right. This is a slate that's almost impossible to figure out. So I'm just entirely fading it.
I didn't mention Kobe White. The chat's talking about Kobe White. What's your thoughts as far as Kobe?
I mean, I like the Chicago players, just not the build I'm doing. Like, I love Thad Young. I already said that, and it's going to blow up in my face horribly. But, like, Markkanen, Levine, White, the matchup versus Houston is fantastic. Like, they all have big ceilings. They've all been playing minutes. The most part played well. Like, Levine always has a ceiling. Playing any three of those guys is a great way to differentiate in GPPs. If you're going to do something different, absolutely, mid-tier can be very, very good with those three guys, or Levine's more on the upper tier. And you can go with, like, Boucher. Like, the mid-tier is not a bad way to build. It's just not what I'm doing because I'm playing horrible plays.
Just as long as you know what you're doing, it's okay, right? You can break the rules if you understand you're breaking the rules. Is that kind of what's going on there?
I'm trying to get first. I am not trying to min cash. The thing is, though, like, if all the value plays I play just put up 15 points, I can still min cash with having Luka, Harden, and Durant. Luka and Harden, Durant, like two of those in every single lineup, like in Giannis. Like,
what's your thoughts as far as Holiday? We're talking about Giannis. How about Drew Holiday? Better play on FanDuel than he is on DK, just as far as fantasy points per minute, just the way his game plays out with his stocks ability. 1.1 on FanDuel, 1.07 on DK. He's kind of a mid-tier guy, mid to upper tier guy. He's one of those guys that just, almost definitely doesn't blow your lineup up, doesn't ruin it, doesn't make it, but he's perfectly fine. A glue guy, if you want to call him. Thoughts as far as Drew Holiday this evening?
I mean, I have no problem with playing him. I have no problem playing Middleton. Brooklyn is a very fast-paced team. I'm assuming they're going to be a very fast-paced team or faster-paced team with Harden in there. They're going to just run and gun. This game is going to have a ton of possessions. This game is going to have a ton of points. I think, is the total up to 240 yet? I'm not entirely certain. I have it picked to go over. I really don't care. I think this is going to be high scoring because both these teams are incredibly efficient and run at a very high pace. So Holiday, Middleton, and Giannis are all fantastic plays because of the matchup here, and I think this game will stay close. I have no problem with throwing Drew or Middleton into my lineup. I prefer Middleton slightly at just 800 more. He's been just putting up decent points every single game that stays close. He's playing 35-plus minutes in any game that stays close, and this game is a guy that's averaging 40 points on the season is a perfectly fine play in this spot, especially with him playing well recently and the plus matchup.
Pace, as far as they're both top 8. Milwaukee is 8th in the league as far as pace. Brooklyn 5th. Of course, Kyrie's been there some games. Harden's only been there for one game. So, you can only do so much with that, with the sample we have to work with. Chicago is the second fastest team in the league. And as far as defensive efficiency, they are the 4th worst. So why are we not picking on the Bulls with some Rockets? We kind of talked about that already. Oladipo, does Christian Wood get kind of sort of lost in this slate? And beyond,
he's projected to 30% ownership.
Okay, so I guess he's not getting lost in the slates.
Yes. Again, I'm not playing Houston guys because everyone's playing Houston guys, at least from looks. But
they're good plays.
They're good plays. They're not great plays. None of them are.
Here's the thing:
plays.
that if you can project Boogie Cousins for like 17 minutes or 18 minutes, he's a really good play. If you project him for 14 or 15 minutes, because every one of his minutes are so precious, because he averages 1.5 fantasy points per minute. You do the math. He's a bad play if he plays 14 minutes. We did see Wood and Cousins play on the court at the same time a little bit, not a lot, and they were a little bit more desperate at the time too. So I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, they didn't really have many guards. They just decided to go a little bit bigger, and they needed some more production. Granted, they were strange enough keeping up in that San Antonio game, so it was advantageous for them to throw those guys in. So now it's a spot where they now have Oladipo and probably Gordon back in their lineup. That allows more scoring at the guard position and just more versatility in how they can do the lineups. So throwing Wood and Cousins in at the same time is no longer that advantageous.
So I like to run the RG optimal stuff, and I'm adding I added variance to it as well. And this kind of speaks to the conversation we're having. And we kind of mentioned this guy maybe in passing earlier. Just understand that this is not a good play, but it makes everything else work to the extreme. Ryan Arcidiacono popped up in one of our optimal lineups, right? Ryan Arcidiacono, who we have projected to play probably maybe 15 minutes this evening. I assume he might get a couple extra if Williams doesn't go. We got to project again. The projection says 13.8 fantasy points tonight, which is terrible at 3K. That's not your traditional always going to get me 6x. You're begging for 18 points, but Giannis Antetokounmpo is in that lineup, and he's projected to get 5x at 10.4K. Durant is in that lineup, and he's projected to get 5x at 10.1K. So you kind of sort of think of him as like a combination of I'm spending 13.4K on Arcidiacono and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that gets me 70 fantasy points.
Yeah, you pretty much have the decision between Eric Gordon and Christian Wood, or Arcidiacono and Luka, or him and Harden. I'm going with the more upside because Harden can realistically go for 80 something.
Yeah, I mean, Arcidiacono is you're begging for 15, 20 points. And again, this stuff absolutely can change. We're 55 minutes before lock, and that's currently where we're at right now. New information coming in, and we'll see what happens with Williams there as far as Chicago. Who else is there's another DJ Augustine is 3.5K projected for 15 fantasy points, and he's popping up in some optimals just for the same reason. It's a terrible math play, but you want to get two studs that are both severely underpriced. That's how you get them. It's not comfortable, but that's what you're doing. And this is for your quote unquote cash game. I don't know how much you want to run that in tournaments. I prefer DJ Augustine over Arcidiacono if I only could pick one. And that's also why Gordon and Wiseman are landing up in lineups as well as Green, because they kind of, they're basically in the mid tier. That both be perfectly fine, I suppose. DeAndre Jordan is pretty cheap, but like we saw last game, he was in the third quarter, about 5 minutes into the third quarter or so, he was kicked off the court, never came back, never be seen again. And I believe Jeff Green he played the 5. Is that another thing we can see today potentially? Can Brooklyn go small? DeAndre Jordan, who should be playing in 1997, not 2021. That's just the way his game plays. He had a good run, good for him, but he's like Hassan Whiteside. That doesn't belong in the game these days. Jeff Green, is he kind of sort of somewhat interesting as a guy that can close as the 5 for Brooklyn? Because I think there is some upside in theory.
Well, remember, they also have Durant on the floor, so it's not like they're going to have trouble matching up with the size of Giannis and Brook Lopez both on the floor at the same time. DeAndre Jordan is going to be more useful if he's plugging up the inside and getting those boards. But if he's outside on Lopez, they can just as easily use Jeff Green for that. So, yeah, I don't think that DeAndre Jordan's a great play today. I'm not going to argue with it, but I don't think he gets run at the end of the game. He doesn't really fit into a lot of builds. Yes, he's a decent way to get off of the Chalk and Wiseman. I think they are the same price. Wiseman's, I think, $200 cheaper, actually. So it's not a terrible idea from just a game theory aspect to get off of the Chalk, but will they need him in this matchup? It's going to be a high-paced matchup. I don't think they do, and so I don't think they end up going with him. I think they go with Jeff Green, and they just go with a higher-scoring, smaller lineup.
I did a terrible job, by the way. I just realized that we have less than 50 minutes left to go. We got to pull Devin on. Devin wants his 50 minutes of fame, and he's only going to get 12, unfortunately. Devin, join the show. What's going on, dude? My apologies. My apologies to the entire family. I know Mom usually watches, but well, join the show. Tell us, ask us some questions.
We're at the 18th of the month, so I guess you got pretty late in the month before you used your one time. Otherwise,
wait, I get a one time every month. I thought that was a yearly thing.
One time a month. We got some QQs saved up. You guys were talking about Jeff Green right before I came on, so I think that's a signifier of how amazing this slate is going to be.
I don't want to cut you off, but Sterling Brown is ruled out for Houston, so I don't know how much that changes things. Like there's McLemore, there's Nawaba, there's Mason Jones, there's Oladipo, there's Gordon. I'm curious what our projections team does with that. I wonder what even we haven't projected for. I guess not much, but go ahead, Devin. I cut you off. I thought that was at least somewhat important considering this slate.
Yeah, no, that's probably at least worth mentioning. Let people know. Let's start with Brian. Which stud would you rather in tournaments for DK, Luka or Anthony Davis?
Luka. I mean, It's Luka.
It's not even close.
It's different price too, by the way. But
now, if LBJ was to be ruled out, would you change that answer?
We're not going to know, and it's the game 3 is at 8 o'clock and game 4 is at 10 o'clock. So you're probably not knowing, but in theory, I guess.
I think we're talking about an ugly slate, so I think it's important to remember to take risks on slates where nobody feels comfortable.
That's why I'm taking
lineup.
risks on guys like Markieff Morris, like Caruso. If James does get ruled out, then boy, am I still in crappy shape.
Hey, his brother hooked me up last night, Marcus. How about that? Thanks, Marcus. Go ahead. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, congrats on winning a GPP. Probably, I don't know.
First time ever.
Whoa, nice.
I mean, I got second. No, I'm joking, but go ahead.
Nate wants to know, single entry DK, do you think you need the raw points of a stud tonight, or does a balanced build have value?
A balanced build does have value. It's not the way I'm going, but it's absolutely a decent way to go, especially if you're not playing the chalk plays like Oladipo, Gordon, those guys in the 60% ownership range, and you're going with the guys in the 12% ownership range that are mid-tier.
I can't see myself not playing at least one of Luka, Harden, Durant, Giannis. Like I feel like I have to have at least one of those in every lineup.
I mean, you can pretty much do a mid-tier build and then swap out to the mid-tiers like Levine and Markkanen for something like Luka and a cheapie. You don't have to go full on mid-tier build, but you can throw one stud and one scrub in your lineup.
We had Sterling Brown projected for 14 minutes before he got ruled out for what it's worth, and it'll probably be delegated to the likes of McLemore, Nwaba, I mean, maybe Karooks. I'm not sure. I don't think it matters a ton. And those guys all got bumped up because of previous games. So, like, McLemore's not 5K, he's 4-5. But go ahead, Devin.
Legit for DK, estimated minutes for Danny Green versus Jayshawn Tate. Would you pick one of the other?
Danny Green's not playing tonight?
Draymond Green? That's what it was.
I would say Draymond. Well, Draymond's minutes are more secure. I would say Draymond plays around 30 or so, assuming that game doesn't get squirrely. And the other one was Tate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tate should play about 28. We have 26, and Brown just got ruled out, so maybe he gets a couple extra minutes delegate his way, maybe 30.
M. Bang wants to know, looks like Porzingis playing. Would you fade the Mavs?
Not Luka. Everyone else, sure.
He's incredible. Luka has just been incredible of late, especially. He's been dealing with injuries too, like banged up here and there. It doesn't matter. I know it's a back-to-back for him. Just as a side note, we haven't talked about Toronto. Just like Lowry and FEV are always just kind of fine. Siakam's fine.
Siakam I like as a play. I just don't have any of them right now. Siakam I like. Boucher I like. I just don't have any of them because I'm only rolling out a few lineups and they're all just ridiculous.
I like Boucher on DK more than on FanDuel for what it's worth. He's probably not going to start, and he probably starts the second half. Spoiler alert. Go ahead, Devin.
Brandon wants to know, Iwundu or Stanley Johnson, I assume? Best Johnson?
No.
Yeah, DK tournament.
That's your question,
That's where
Grant.
we are.
Flip a coin and don't do it. Flip a coin and rebuild.
Herbert, are the Buffalo Bills going to win the Super Bowl? We'll fill in this one.
I hope so.
Is Mahomes playing?
That's a good
Mahomes,
question.
no.
We don't know. We don't even know if he has a concussion.
Mahomes
I think they can.
Spoiler alert: Mahomes is passing that. He's going to pass the concussion test. It's already happened. Don't worry about it. He's going to pass.
I think they can still beat him with Mahomes in there.
Yeah, Green Bay's beaten Tampa for what it's worth. So you can put that one here in your
It's
scores.
better,
and odds.
or else I'm gonna cry.
Don't forget to hit that like button if we get your question. Mark wants to know, Lowry or Holiday, FanDuel Cash.
Ooh.
There's your Toronto mention, Dean.
Yeah, like they're both. I think I'll take Holiday, but they're both perfectly fine. Like they're both.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both perfectly. I know it's not a helpful answer, but you're on the right path. They're both. Neither is going to hurt you. I don't think.
I don't think did I ever mention KCP?
I don't think
You're
you
down
did.
with them?
I'm down with KCP. You know me.
Oh man. Ugh, what a slate, man. What a world.
I know.
Oh, it's so bad.
gross.
Alex, friend of the show, says, isn't the way to counter the Houston ownership is with two Bulls and Boogie?
Yeah, I mean the Boogie one is interesting because again, if he can get there in 15 minutes, he could also get ejected in 2 minutes. And who are the two guys on Chicago? that
Levine, I would assume one, right?
White, Markin, and Levine, any one of those three. But
hate
Thad
that
Young
Levine
is going to
price.
crush to combat the Houston ownership. Play Thad Young in a blowout.
I think
Otto Porter's out. We didn't mention that, but I assume people were aware. Is another guy that's out for Chicago.
You were not the first one to mention Thad Young, Grant. There was a lot of chat on him earlier in chat.
Well, I don't care.
Denzel Valentine. Look at these names.
Yeah, lovely.
I mean, so if Williams doesn't play, there is like 30 minutes to go around. Now, it will be delegated amongst the likes of Young and Valentine. Maybe Carter gets an extra minute or two. Maybe he gets like 30.
This is going to be a terrible lock. I can already tell.
Garrett Temple might get 27, 28 minutes. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, if Williams doesn't play, all of a sudden Chicago guys, we're looking for just a couple extra minutes to make it a little more interesting. But, yeah, this is the slate. That's what we're dealing with.
Morning Wood would like to know, DK tournament, Morris or Caruso for last piece?
Oh,
Morris. Morris
with
by a
confidence.
slight margin. He's going to come in. No one's playing Morris except for me.
Oh.
All right, same user, Morning Wood. Favorite play under 3,600 DK tournament.
Caruso and Morris are both under 36. At 3,600, it's Morris. Under 3,600, it's Archie.
Is Boban 36 or no? Boban's 30. Look, Boban might get you a 0, but I just think there's a path. There's at least a path if he plays like 12 minutes where he puts up like 20 fantasy points. And
I mean, we've seen his point per minute upside, and that'd be better than taking a 0 in some other spots.
I guess.
Ruru, FanDuel Cash, Jeff Green or Kuzma.
Jeff Green.
Yeah, I'll take Green over Kuzma. I mean, Kuzma, you almost definitely need like LeBron out. But he can mop up as well, too, which may happen there against Golden State. But Green feels a little more solidified for me.
Don't forget to smash that like button. Jeff says, favorite scrub play. Line them up.
It's an oxymoron, man. I don't have one. I wish there was a play. Is Jeff Green, is he a scrub?
Technically, I'm like, again, they're just play the ones no one likes. Thad Young, Caruso, Morris.
People might like
ACP.
Young if Williams is ruled out, for the record, because that's going to shuffle some stuff. And everybody's staring and waiting for like information to drop. Like we need a lifeline of some sort to change the slate for us. And I just checked Twitter again. Nothing going on.
Nothing.
Still 44 minutes or
crickets.
so. But yeah, I mean, it's we're all dealing with the same thing, and it's the weirdest thing because the entire season it's been like, well, here's a ton of value. And you get to pick whatever you want. You get to play 3 studs with it. And now the studs are so cheap, but you can't. It's really hard to play them. You got to play absolute garbage along with them. So, and the middle is meh. Yeah.
Seth wants to know DK single entry tournament, Siakam and Tate versus DJ and Durant.
I think like the second pairing. Yeah.
Yeah,
DJ can get you 20-ish. I think he gives a path for DJ to get 22 or so.
Play Caruso instead.
Late FanDuel tournament, Harden or KD?
Harden.
All right. It looks like we might have caught up. Wiseman or DeAndre, FanDuel for Mark?
DeAndre is so much safer and probably what is the optimal spitting out him. I'm not really sure.
No, I think Wiseman's going to be way more owned, so I don't think DeAndre is safer.
I thought that was a DK thing. I'm not sure if that's true on FanDuel.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't hear the FanDuel.
It is FanDuel.
Well, I'm dumb then.
Yeah, you got to pay attention to the entire question, Grant.
That Dean, that was a perfect opportunity for you to just pounce on him, and you left it. You left it hanging.
And you know what? As I pull up the projections, we currently have Wiseman on FanDuel projected at 30% ownership and DJ at 9%. So it came right back at me.
All right, we'll end on this one with Nathan. Favorite game stack if you had to choose on a 4-gamer?
Stack the scrubs on the Lakers game and stack the studs on the Brooklyn game.
Yeah, we talked about that, like correlating scrubs and like playing the what if. I think we kind of like barely went over that. But yeah, if you can sort of like peg and say, Boban. Let's just move on.
Why are we talking about pegging?
Devin, there, you can use that for the highlight reel at the end of the season.
There you go. Thanks for tuning in today, Mom.
It's a family show, Devin. Hey, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. If you guys are RG members, you will watch Crunch Time with Andy Means and Kevin Roth. And if anything changes, they'll tell you how to adjust. That show comes on in about 10 minutes or so. Devin has to take a second to fire it up, obviously. They take you all up the lock if you guys want to get RJ content. $10 off your first month. You can get it a la carte, just basketball, just hockey, just whatever sport, or you can get all the sports with the exception of NASCAR, $10 off as well. Check out that Monkey Knife Fight link as well. That was Grant. That was Devin. I was Dean. This was basketball. Happy MLK Day. That's the show. We're out of here. Holler.